bespoke radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Good evening. Fade to Black. Bespoke Radio for the masses. Welcome. How you doing? It's another Monday. Today is May 29th, 148 days into the new year, just 217 days left. Happy Memorial Day. I'm hoping everybody has had a great weekend, remembering everybody that has sacrificed themselves. You know, I'm an Army brat. Gotta do it, man. Gotta do it. Memorial Weekend is something that, you know, we do. We party. And it's a very important weekend for us. We've kind of turned it into this mass celebration, but it's always for the right reasons, right? So happy Memorial Day. I hope you spent it with friends and family. You cooked some good food, and you tipped back a cold one in remembrance of maybe somebody in your family that has served and sacrificed, a friend, a neighbor. There you go. All right? For all of those that came before us, we are live from a bunker somewhere in downtown Burbank, California, and I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Welcome, everybody, on this beautiful Monday night here in Southern California. It is truly summer. By the time, and it was kind of weird, too, because the last couple of weeks it was kind of cold here, a little nippy for May. But by the time Memorial Day rolls around, we are in full summer swing here in Southern California. Beautiful night outside. Driving over to the bunker today, just looking around, clear blue sky, just perfect weather. Just in a great mood. Sets the tone. And you know, we spent the weekend with friends and family, and our niece and nephew. Kevin and Diana purchased a new home, and it was Kevin's birthday. So having both of that at the same time, going over and doing a little housewarming with the family yesterday means so much. And you just look around, and this is the deal. Yes, Memorial Day is what it is, but yesterday on Memorial Weekend, when you're there with family and you just look around and you just realize, you know, how great this country is, how great the world is, how great family is, and just the opportunity to hang out and drink. Well, I drank I drank pear lemonade. I was non-alcoholic yesterday, but to sit back and have cold drinks and barbecue and just hanging out, you just realize how special life is. And I hope that you did the same thing this weekend. All right, we did, and I'm just in a great mood. All right, tonight, very, very special week that we've got set up in front of you. Tonight, angel, medium, and author Stewart Pearce is here. And we are going to talk about sound. We're going to talk about Egypt. We're going to talk about angels. We're going to talk about things that go bump in the night. And his life, very interesting guy, and how he helps people with all of this. Just just a rock star of an individual, and it's the first time we've had him on the show. I feel like I've known him forever. He's a really, really cool, down-to-earth guy, but also very smart. So just get ready for that. Stewart Pearce is with us. Tomorrow night is the worldwide return of Jordan Maxwell. He has been away for 6 years. Tomorrow night, it will be on Fade to Black. So get ready. Jordan Maxwell, never been on the show. And hung out with Jordan, but it's the first time he's ever been on Fade to Black, and it's been 6 years since he's done major radio. So there you go. Tomorrow night, Jordan Maxwell is here. Wednesday night, Dr. Robert Schock and the Gobekli Tepe special event, and that will be Wednesday night with Robert, and I cannot wait for that. Thursday night, another Fader night with John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom Live, followed by open lines all night long. Follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio, simple enough, at JChurch, right? Farrah Fawcett. Oh, Charlie's Angel. Oh, I get it. Okay. I thought there was some Fade to Black connection there. Close enough, though. Farrah Fawcett. Follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio, Facebook, YouTube. Everything is Fade to Black. Just go over to jimmychurchradio.com. Click on all of those little icons. Get her done. The sandbox, if you want to hang out with us, is hashtag F2B on Twitter. We don't bite. And if you've got any questions or comments during the show tonight or any other night, hashtag F2BQ on Twitter. All right, email is Jimmy at jimmychurchradio.com. With that, let's get this party started. I'm so excited. Now, a couple of things, a little bit of breaking news. I don't know what's going on with this, and I have intentionally over the last couple of weeks, since going back before Contact in the Desert, we just shut off all mass media, man. We just shut it off. Shut it off. I just quit clicking. That's it. I was just done. And it went all the way through Memorial Weekend. And this morning, being Monday, now I've got to do the show and get ready and prep. And I just kind of decided to take a peek what was going on in the world. And there's this little blurb out there. It was on a couple of websites, but North Korea just launched this other missile, and it landed in the Sea of Japan, 150 kilometers from Japan, which is 75 miles. That's pretty close. And Japan says that they are going to now do something with the United States. What that means, I don't know. I don't know how many more sanctions can be slapped, onto North Korea, but it was just kind of an alarming position to take. And I just kind of, I got bummed out. I got sucked back into the negativity that I'm trying to avoid, right? I just like, how do I do this to myself? The mass media is so effective with this. It's unbelievable how well it works. And it did. So I stopped reading. That's my breaking news for the day. Oh, man. Unbelievable. All right, let's go through some stuff. I just wanted to share that. I mean, I'm just in a great mood. We've had just 2 weeks of wonderful life around us, and more on that in just a bit. Okay, where am I at? Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. We have 2 ways to get to our archives. Well, there's 3 or 4 actually, but the podcast, $2 a month. Podcast is the podcasted version of this show. That's all it is. This show rolled on to the podcast format. It's still a radio show. It's not a podcast. We're not doing something different. It's just the archives of the show. We have over 650 shows there, $2 a month. Go to jimmychurchradio.com and click. Now, or not the same thing, or we have a membership area. Again, not the podcast. And you have downloadable archives there that don't run on software or apps or anything. Totally different. And there's other things that we do there. And we have a drawing that we're going to do this Thursday, by the way, for the coffee bar that we're going to be giving away, courtesy of River Moon Coffee. All the coffee that you need and all the hardware that you need for the perfect cup of joe every single day with Fade to Black blend. So if you want to get in on that drawing, go to our membership area. No purchase necessary. You can go from free all the way to full-on game changer. Choose your poison. Help support the show. All right? Okay, where am I at? Don't forget all of our sponsors. Life Change Tea, GetTheTea.com, River Moon Coffee, Studio Dome Speakers. We have 3 new sponsors for the show starting, I think, this month. Yeah, I think starting this month, we've got all 3 kicking off on the 1st, and more on that in just a bit. We will be at the ECETI Ranch coming up for their July 4th Science, Spirit, and World Transformation Conference. Tickets and info over at ECETIEvents.com. Very simple, ECETIEvents.com. You can register, look at all of the events that they have planned for the weekend, and get up there. We're going to ECETI Ranch. We're going to go hang out with James Gilliland and look at those night skies. Things to do all day, every day. We're going to go look for Bigfoot, see what we can find out in the woods there and in the skies. So ECETI is a bucket list for us to come and hang out. It's going to be amazing. All right, ECETIEvents.com. And then, of course, in August 18th, I will be the MC for Corey Goode and his conference up at Mount Shasta. I'll be the host for the entire event. We're going to hang out all weekend, and also the eclipse is that weekend. And that website is getting ready to launch, and as soon as it does, all that info will be released right here. Let's get the show cracking. Happy birthday today to Noel Gallagher. Oasis, Noel Gallagher. Today he's 50, and I went and listened to 3 times. I had to do it. Champagne Supernova. Man, say what you want about Noel, but man, that's great band, great song. Oingo Boingo's Danny Elfman today is 64, and of course he did everything for Tim Burton, as well as, of course, Dead Man's Party. Where was I? I was somewhere on Halloween, and Oingo Boingo played. I want to say it was Irvine Meadows Amphitheater back in the 80s. Yeah, I think they played one song. Dead Man's Party got off the stage. Our dead guy's birthday today, 2. John F. Kennedy and Bob Hope. Happy birthday, guys. On this day in history, OTD, 1953. At 11:30 a.m. on May 29th, 1953, Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay, a Sherpa from Nepal, become the first explorers to reach the summit of Mount Everest, which, at 29,035 feet above sea level, is the highest point on planet Earth. Fate or fact, all European... Listen to this now. Write this down, because this is going to flip you out. All European monarchs occupying a throne today are descended from one man, John William Frizzo, Prince of Orange. That's a fate or fact. Think of Ralph Ellis as I just said that, right? You guys remember Ralph Ellis talking about that? There you go. And that is a fate or fact. Tonight, Stewart Pearce is here. We're going to talk about voice alchemy, healing, the voice, orbs, angels, contact. Things that, you meet in the dark, right? There's that part of it, too. Interesting childhood, very smart guy. Stewart Pearce is here with us. He just got back from Egypt, by the way. Just got back from Egypt on this show tonight, so we'll talk about all of that. Tomorrow night, the return of Jordan Maxwell. Wednesday night, Dr. Robert Schock and Gobekli Tepe. Thursday night, John Rappaport. All right, last night it happened. Robert Bigelow made it all the way to 60 Minutes. And the appearance and interview have been all over the news. George Knapp covered it last night on Coast. Driving around in the car today, I heard about it on another AM talk show, which had nothing to do with conspiracy or UFOs. It was just a talk show. And they were talking about what was said last night. And it's pretty much gone viral on the web. And I'm sure that you've read and heard some of it, maybe all of it. Hang on. Sometimes you just got to cough. And then take a drink of coffee. Live on the air. I do it every night, so I just got it out of the way. All right. And here is some of what CBS said, 60 Minute style, right? And this is a transcription of some of what went down. And I'm not going to do it in the 60 Minutes narration voice, although I could. But here you go. They said, the story sparked his obsession and explains the alien looking out from the side of a Bigelow Aerospace. And it made for the kind of conversation you don't ordinarily have with an accomplished CEO. All right, so Lara Logan starts off with this. She says, do you believe in aliens? Bigelow responds, I'm absolutely convinced. That's all there is to it. She comes back with, do you also believe that UFOs have come to Earth? And Bigelow says, there has been and is an existing presence, an ET presence. And I spent millions and millions and millions. I probably spent more as an individual than anybody else in the United States has ever spent on this subject. Lara says, is it risky for you to say in public that you believe in UFOs and aliens? Bigelow says, I don't give a damn. I don't care. Logan says, you don't worry that some people will say, did you hear that guy? He sounds like he's crazy. Bigelow says, I don't care. Logan says, why not? Bigelow says, it's not going to make a difference. It's not going to change reality of what I know. Logan comes back with, do you imagine that in our space travels we will encounter other forms of intelligent life? Bigelow says, you don't have to go anywhere. Logan comes back with, you can find it here? Where exactly? Bigelow says, it's just like right under people's noses. Oh my gosh, wow. Think about that. So 60 Minutes ends up, with the narration, right? The FAA confirmed to us that for years it referred reports of UFOs and other unexplained phenomena to a company Bigelow owns. He told us he has had his own close encounters, but declined to go into detail. Just narrated in that typical 60 Minutes way. And then we get this. Robert Bigelow's quirky, and he knows it. But when you have as much money as he does, no one, not even NASA, seems to care. He bought the idea for his inflatable technology from the space agency. NASA has been working on this since the early 1960s. But when Congress killed its program in 2000, Bigelow seized the opportunity and invested tens of millions of dollars to advance NASA's original idea. So there you go. 60 Minutes, national exposure. Robert Bigelow, who has been part of our circle for years, he's been on Coast to Coast many times, was very public. And he just says he doesn't care. I'm wondering, honestly, and they talked about Skinwalker, too, a little bit. I didn't get a chance to get into that tonight. More on that tomorrow. But I'm wondering what Bigelow knows. He got involved with MUFON, sunk a bunch of money there, wanted access to files. And what does he know? He's had his own close encounters. Did that happen up at Skinwalker? Las Vegas? I'm not so sure what's really going on here with Robert. Love to get him on this show, though. So, anyway, that was last night. And then before that, took off on 60 Minutes, I posted this yesterday on Facebook. And it's funny how people will just read what they want and extrapolate out of something what they want to get out of it. Some thought it was about contact in the desert. That was interesting. It wasn't. Some think it was about Corey Goode. It wasn't. Let me make that very clear. It just wasn't. It was about everything and everybody. And, specific individuals altogether, but nothing about, like there was something crazy that went down at CIT. Nothing happened at CITD. All right. I'm referring and have referred to a bunch of people that didn't even attend the conference that are not connected. These people are not, they probably don't even know each other, but just talking smack about an event that they did not attend. Right? It's just like crazy. Not about events that happen at CITD because nothing did. They were just criticizing people that attend conferences like that and and what contact in the desert represents. And, it's just, man, I just don't have time for it. But anyway, and it wasn't about Corey Goode. It was about everybody. So this is what I posted. And I'll clarify as I need to, but I want to get all of this in before I bring in Stewart Pearce. Okay? So this is what I posted. So we get back from CITD, and it appears that while we were out of town and leading up to the event, and through today, which was Sunday, Memorial Day, a few people, a small number, have been very negative towards individuals, conferences, groups, events, and information. Some are connected, some not. You have MUFON, you have whistleblowers, researchers, authors, whatever. Suddenly, we have this negativity being brought from a very select few, and it's just stupid. All of it. Now, let me clarify here. I completely said that this started before Contact in the Desert. We were gone. We checked out, and just it's just this entire thing just upset all at once. This thing with MUFON blew up, and I don't want to name who the guy was. I just don't want to give him publicity, man. He's just a doofus. But this thing with MUFON, which affected friends of ours and yours, it really upsets me, and that a large part of it started way before we left town. I keep saying Contact in the Desert. I just want to talk about the last 2 weeks. Contact in the Desert just happened to fall in the middle of it. Again, Contact was wonderful. This had nothing to do with Contact. And then other individuals out there that were talking about different researchers. I put whistleblowers in here, so suddenly everybody thinks this is about Corey. No. I mean, I'm talking about one person talking about this guy who's an author, and this lady who's a researcher, and this guy over here who's another researcher, and this guy in the paranormal. And everybody was talking about, and I was just like, what is going on? And it just continued to stew. So first we have this thing with MUFON. I just talked about it. One guy that ran his mouth, and in 24 hours raised so much craziness that I still can't wrap my head around it. Friends have really been affected. So very uncool. Second, the disinfo about CITD and what it represents. I was there. I was everywhere all weekend. I probably spoke to, no joke, over 4 days, 1,000 people. And I'm not exaggerating. Okay? And they will tell you that the entire weekend was nothing but coolness, happiness, knowledge, period. Now, I haven't paid too much attention to the CITD negativity because it's all BS. Why? Because everything that I have seen or read is from some person or somebody out there who wasn't even at Contact in the Desert. They weren't even there. So I posted, how crazy is that? You be the judge. It's just stupid. It's insane. Third, the attacks on different authors, researchers, and whistleblowers, totally uncool. Spreading hate and negativity does nothing. Although this is coming from just a few people out there. Just a few, right? As I see it, this is the reason why. They are screaming for ego and attention. Number 2, they are upset because others are happy. And 3, they think that if they try and break up the community or cause problems, that they will have more clicks, more likes, views, friends, subs, or comments on some doofused out forum thread to validate their own existence or ego. And again, this is very, very uncool. And what I'm trying to say here is there are researchers and authors out there, and I don't care who you want to point at, right? Whatever. You want to say Corey Goode, fine. You want to say Wilcock, fine. You want to say Linda Moulton Howe, fine. You want to say, just pick somebody. I don't care. Draw a name. Throw my name in there. I don't care. That there are people out there that resonate and connect with these people. They understand what they are saying. They want to hear what they are saying. And by being negative, you're not going to change anybody's mind. Nobody out there listening to it's going to step back and go, wow, man, I saw that video, man. I saw what you posted in your blog, man. I saw that forum post, man. You know what, man? You're right, man. I'm going to stop. It ain't going to happen. All it is trying to be, the mission here is to cause angst and negativity, and I don't dig it. Over the last week, I've been approached. I've been approached by email, text, post things vocally, in person, in my ear, on the phone. People saying, have you seen this? Have you read this? So-and-so is saying this about this person, or so-and-so is this person, and this person is over here saying this, and this person is... I'm just like, dude, and it's all directions from everybody. It's nuts. It's nuts. And why am I concerned about it? This is my point. You people that are reading this or contacting me, some of the people that are posting this stuff think that I care. I don't. I have never read a post that's negative. I don't. I delete it. I never open up an email that starts with, oh, by the way, I'm just trying to, delete it. I don't read it. I don't click on any links. I don't watch any YouTube videos. I don't do it. So I don't know what has been said out there. I don't care. I don't let negativity get to me. And don't let it affect you. I don't read it. I delete it. I don't watch it. I don't listen to it ever. I will never be part of, take part in, or be exposed to negative thoughts or spread them. It's bad for the soul. Before somebody says, hey, man, you need to hear both sides. I do hear both sides. I have every type of researcher and witness and contactee on this show. Everybody has been on here. Okay? I don't attack people. I don't question. I just don't do that because I've had my own experiences. I know that there was something going on. The beautiful thing about our community, the beautiful thing about it is we are able to talk here with an open mind and listen to everybody and understand and be concerned. That's what we do. And the second we start clamping that down, trying to shut people up, trying to censor people and telling somebody that they are lying, you can't, you know what? Nobody's going to talk. Nobody's going to say anything. And you know what you get in the end? If that's what you want, you get nothing. Nothing. So if you want to be a part of that, don't be a part of our family. Just don't. We don't need it around here. You want to go do a radio show about it? Go do it. Don't hang out with us because we are not negative. You want to go make a video about it? Go do it. Have fun. I ain't going to watch it. I'm not going to endorse it. I'm not going to pass it around because it's negative and it's censorship. You don't know the truth. If you are going to be part of negativity, you better be able to back it up because in the end, those negative people are insignificant. They don't matter. They don't. We have a way of flushing out that kind of stuff. We just do. And we don't want negative people around. I just don't want it in my life. It weighs you down, and it stops the goal of being a better person, of making this world a better place, and that's the truth. And with that, I got to get out of here. You think I'm done? I'm not done. I'll pick up on this in 2 hours. Why? This is my show. I just want to have fun. Can't we just have fun? Can't we just light it up together? Can't we do that? That's right, we will. Right here on Fade to Black tonight, Stewart Pearce. Unbelievable night, dead ahead. He just got here. Stewart just got back from Egypt. I want to know, don't you? You know it's my favorite subject. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. That's right. On the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet, iHeartRadio, all that stuff. I'll be right back with Stewart Pearce. Stay right there.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roasted to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black Blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hi, folks. Let's wind the clocks back 60 years. Food was different. Food provided health and nutrition, and using supplements was minimal. Unfortunately, now we have chemicals, GMOs, herbicides, and pesticides that can be quite lethal in the name of our food supply and, of course, the ever-loving dollar. Supplementing our diets can be very important to stay healthy. Cleansing from daily intruders to the body might be critical. Live strong and take charge. Log on to getthetea.com. Our herbal tea is a great way to cleanse from intruders. Our supplements is a great way to maintain and improve your health. When your health is not up to par, go to getthetea.com. No GMOs, no fillers, and organic, and very helpful in keeping you at the top of your game. Life is too short to feel, you know what I mean. Stay in the game, at the top of your game with getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Again, getthetea.com.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Hi, this is Chase Klutsky with Fate Magazine Radio, and you're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station where the Fader-Knots rock.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. This is truly bespoke radio for the masses. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Yeah, Twitter's on fire. I get it. And so do you. Can't we all just get on? Can't we all just be friends? I do. I run around with flowers hanging out of my pocket. That's what I do. I distribute fun. That's what I do. I frolic in the mist. And so does our guest tonight. Legendary sound healer, master of voice. He's an angel whisperer. Stewart Pearce was the head of voice at the Webber Douglas Academy in London from 1980 to 1997. He helped pioneer Shakespeare's Globe Theatre between 1997 and 2010. He has coached luminaries such as Eddie Redmayne, Matthew Goode, Hugh Bonneville, Mark Rylance, Minnie. I'm going to talk about Minnie Driver tonight. Vanessa Redgrave, Margaret Thatcher, Princess Di, that's right, and the London 2012 Olympic bid, and those announcers, just to name a few. Being a seer of 40 years, Stewart has also published Angels and the Keys to Paradise, The Angels of Atlantis, the book and oracle, by the way, the Angelic Heart Sigils Oracle, the Heart's Note, and the Alchemy of Voice, alongside several award-winning recordings such as The Angels of Atlantis Soul Calls. We're going to talk about that tonight, too. His websites are StewartPearce.com and TheAngelsOfAtlantis.com. And I would like to welcome for the first time to Fade to Black, the one and only, by the way, Stewart Pearce. Stewart, good evening.
Well, good evening to you, Mr. Church. How are you?
I am fantastic. It's great to hear your voice. More on that in just a bit. But what you get tonight, Stewart, is you get the first-time guest disclaimer. So let's get that out of the way, which is it's just you and I sitting on my couch talking as friends. Where the conversation starts, it starts. Where it ends, but we're going to end as friends. There you go. You ready?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you don't sound too nervous. Now, before we get started, there's so many things tonight, and I'm going to try to get it all in. As you know, we can go in so many different directions. But I do want to start actually here. My love and affection for Egypt, I don't think there's anything secondary for me, right? Everything that goes on there. And you just got back. What does Egypt mean to you?
Wow, what does it mean to me? It is the land of my fathers. That's what it means to me. And so, in other words, for now 50 years, I've been visiting this wonderful, wonderful country and exploring the mysteries that are there through some of the principal temples and some that are not well known. And running retreats over the last 12 years. The Resurrection Retreat, very specifically, is something that I've been running for about 12 years. What do I feel about Egypt? I feel that it's a very remarkable kingdom for we soul wayfarers to go for retreat so that we can literally enjoy and be amplified, expand, resonate in a way that we can't in other areas of the world. In other words, the temples, although they may look ruinous, are actually switched on to really powerful astrogeographical energies. And so as we enter them, our cells literally vibrate on a much faster frequency and allow us to be able to release any of the negativities that we have in our bodies, any of the toxicity or the disturbance that we have in our bodies, and really claim what our divine blueprint is, if we have the wit to do that. I could go on and on and on about Egypt. It's the most extraordinary place as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I haven't been. Rita and I are planning a trip there very soon. But that being said, I have interviewed just about all of the greats when it comes to Egypt and Egyptology on this show. And one thing that has been said over and over, Stewart, is that you don't even have to be warned. You don't have to be aware. You walk into one of these temples and it's like electricity and you can feel it. You don't have to have that subliminal suggestion that something's going to happen, right? You just, it will affect you and you don't have a choice.
Well, sure, yes. Even for the diehard cynic, as soon as they walk into these switched on fifth dimensional chambers that are rich in sacred geometry, but as I was saying, astrogeographical alignments.
Right.
That whomever, even the hard cynic, is automatically affected by the very powerful energies that are there. In a similar way, of course, we know in South America, whether it be in the Palenque area or going further down, I mean, Chichen Itza is absolutely extraordinary in terms of its power. But it affects the human psyche and the human physiology in a different way from the temples in Egypt. The temples in Egypt are orientating us to a very, very different frequency. And that I find fascinating.
Say cynic for me one more time.
Cynic.
Oh, man. Well played, my friend. Well played. And there is something that has been lost, with when you talk about the ancient cultures and their connection to self and consciousness and the ability to improve and look at society in a different way. We have lost touch with all of that. How do we get back to it? Is it these, trips to Egypt? Is it shows like this and you speaking out about it? But how do we get back to self?
Well, I feel that, we are engaged in a very active revolution to rediscover and remember who we truly are. And your facilitation, your joy, your inspiration, your adventure, your sojourn into encouraging us to tune in every Monday evening through to Thursday and listen to yourself talking intelligently and in an articulated way about the necessity of what it is to regain our spiritual identity is evidently doing an extraordinary amount of good as we see this great spiritual renaissance that is taking place at this time. I mean, we're really in the center of a vortex of a vast renaissance, aren't we? I know when we look in 3D and we see the troubles of the world, we often think, well, how can that be? But of course, we also know as we reflect that it's always darkest before the dawn. So there seems to be an equal amount of darkness and an equal amount of light around at this time, and fulfills the prophecy that we were given by the Mayan people and also by the Far Eastern scholars within Ayurveda, that we would be experiencing what this time is bringing forth. So, you know, I have at the same time immense amounts of hope about what we're experiencing. I think it's electrifying and really exciting.
The ability that let me make that plural. The abilities that you have and you possess, certainly this isn't something that's new. This is something that you were probably born with and goes back to your childhood. I have seen you speak. I stood at the back of the room at Conscious Life. I was a little bit too fanboyed out to come up and say hello. But aside from that, your presentation, and I went back and checked out some of your references to your childhood, and I've got to say, very, very interesting. But when we talk about royalty, your family, your family's history, and your journeys through, man, I want to say this right, Stewart, but like castles, right? I mean, royal places had to have an effect on your life. Was that the beginning of it? And was there any accidents or epiphanies that happened during those journeys?
Oh, God, yeah, tons. Many, many, many. Yeah, it was a very privileged childhood, but at the same time, a very grounded perspective. Because although I have a brother who's a year older, we were engaged in the privilege of what it was to live within royal containers, so to speak. And as you've just mentioned, to journey through ancient buildings that have been associated with monarchy for thousands of years, and therefore there are many voices there. I had an extraordinary mother who made sure that we were very grounded in 3D. And so although we were, brought up in these extraordinary containers, we were also sent to state schools, meaning we were sent to, public education situations so that we could find out exactly what other people, how other people were being, how other children were being brought up, and what other interests other children had. But for me, what it did was to allow me to experience pure wonder and pure awe. And within the capacity of what it is to experience wonder and awe, I found myself literally being supported by vast waves of energy that would move through me, around me, above me, below me, that I would literally be supported on. In other words, I feel that I spent much of my childhood soul surfing on these extraordinary energies and developing conversations with unseen beings who then became seen beings to me, unfortunately not to many of the other people that were around me. And what I'm talking about is I was seeing elemental, I was seeing spirit, I was seeing ghosts, I was seeing angels. And of course, they were wrapped within these containers, these amazing old buildings that were filled with art treasures and many, many voices, shall we say. So it was very extraordinary. And at the same time, in a 3D context, what it did was to introduce me to what nobility truly is, what noblesse oblige truly is, what it is as far as an honor code that produces a loyalty and a deference to all people, so that everybody is engaged in the nobility of labor. Everybody is engaged in the nobility of truth. So it's always about the highest choice rather than the lower choice. That's the way that I see the noble. At the same time, it introduced me to the nature of ritual, right? The ritual of heritage, which keeps a fiber of our souls functioning so that we recognize whatever our developments have been, whatever our soul wayfaring happens to be, wherever our intelligence goes, even into some of the darknesses of conspiracy theory, that wherever we are, we can begin to feel that our origins have a very powerful heritage.
What about religion?
And the last thing was that I was introduced to grace. Because
exactly.
If the Queen of England, the present Queen of England, has a quality that is redeemable as far as human nature is concerned, she has absolute grace. She may be distant and she may speak through a style that is no longer really part of our consciousness in the West. The point is that she has immense amounts of grace.
An immense amount of longevity, too, I might add.
She is formidable. It's her faith that keeps her
unreal.
going. It's her faith and her curiosity that keeps her going.
Yeah, she's going to go to $120, Stewart. That's my prediction here. There's nothing tragic around the corner. She's healthy. She looks great.
Yeah. But as we both know, it's the choices that we make that allow that level of longevity to take place.
Yeah, that's right.
She's a meat eater, and obviously, we can see from her body that she enjoys food, but at the same time is active within her physical and mental constitution. That's the most important thing. Yeah. And believes that she can go on and on and on and on because she was anointed. That's the most important thing. So she won't abdicate her throne or her power as monarch because she was anointed by the divine, and that's the crucial thing.
I wanted to ask you really quick, religious upbringing for you?
Christian,
and as you were going through these experiences, did you share them with anybody in the church or your family, and how did you start to discern? Because you said angels specifically, and I find that very interesting. Was that because of your religious education? Was it because of your family? Was there somebody else that helped you point in that direction, or did you do it on your own?
It all just happened. Literally, it just happened in my experience of consciousness. And then I learned how to interpret that these beings of light are God's emissaries, and they're called angels.
Right.
But they didn't look at all like the angels that I was being introduced to through classical education. I mean, they were human beings with wings. I wasn't seeing human beings with wings. I was seeing huge rods of light, huge beams of light, and orbs. And this is what I still see.
How old were you, Stewart, when this first started to happen?
Oh, very, 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 very young. I mean, really young. And so I was so caught by wonder that I didn't really speak for the first 6 years of my life. I was silent, and my brother interpreted for me. And then I started to discover the power of sound. But, now what I know is that I had grave difficulty with academia. So I had grave difficulty with what it was to read and also what it was to do, basic computation, basic math, that I'm numerically dyslexic. And now I know that I was experiencing something called synesthesia, which is this crossover of senses. So in other words, I was seeing sound. I was not just hearing it, I was seeing sound. And therefore, to learn how to read from the printed page was far too complex, because all that the printed word did was to create a sort of complex lasered pattern, rather like looking into intense algorithmic processes. It was all too much. And I learned to read much later. I learned to read around 11, 12, 13, 14. But I learned to read through singing.
The voice, when did you first start to figure out that you had pipes?
My voice broke quite young. So I was about 11 when my voice broke. And people kept commenting on my voice, saying, "You have the most amazing voice. Something happens to me when you speak. Why don't you start telling more stories?" And then later, as I moved into adolescence, it was, "Have you ever thought of acting?"
Right.
And so I took part in, school theatrics, school dramatics. And people kept on saying, for the first time in my life, I was actually receiving approbation. Have you ever thought of becoming an actor? And I thought, wow, perhaps I should become an actor. So, of course, I became an actor.
Yeah, you hear it over and over. Look, I went through the same thing. But my take on it, and I do want to ask you this, because by the way, could you kill the sounds on your computer? It's like loud going out over the airwaves. I hated my voice growing up. I couldn't stand it. Now it's how I make my living. For you, did you go through a period where you wanted a high voice like your friends had, right? That this voice was maybe holding you back, or maybe you were embarrassed by it?
I never remember being embarrassed or feeling that it was a disability. There was always something within my consciousness that allowed me to believe that although many of my teachers said that I was nothing and it would always be nothing, you know, the sort of classic stories that we hear about those people that are of alternative ability, that I always believed that something was developing within me that was an inner truth, a conviction, an undeniable determination, an endurance, a sort of courage. I mean, this is how I refer to it now. Then it was merely a textured sensory awareness of, I will be able to achieve something. And my voice was something that people always commented on. So, you know, as a young actor, I was introduced to the great poets, and particularly Shakespeare, and then worked with one of the leading voice coaches in the English-speaking theatre world through the RSC, and discovered a way of being able to tune my instrument, which, of course, became something that I then engaged in about 8 or 9 years later, when I organically moved from acting into voice coaching. And that was largely to do with the fact that the wheel of destiny turned and claimed me through personal circumstances that were very challenging.
Now, also with, with Princess Di, Margaret Thatcher, Minnie Driver right here, by the way. But you've also, you've met the Pope. All of these individuals have the power of the voice and the power of speech and the power to communicate thought and idea to the masses. Do you feel that connection with all of them, and that's part of their magic?
Yeah, to a varying degree, absolutely. And, the Pope that I met, of course, is not Papa Francesco, as we see now. It was the last Pope. And I didn't really feel that he was vocalizing his integrity. The present Pope, this Pope Francis, is absolutely extraordinary in the way that he's able to use the song of his soul to communicate, whether it's through speech or through the chant of the sacred, the sacred liturgy, that he communicates something very, very specific. And of course, as we see, he is a freedom fighter. I mean, for me, he's the reincarnation of St. Francis of Assisi.
Now, I want to set up for what we're going to start to discuss next. There is, the world itself, not only the United States, but Europe, the United Kingdom, France just elected a new president. There's been elections all over Europe, but we have these issues that are going on globally, and it's not one part of the world now. It is a global thing, powered by some of the fake news and that crazy conspiracy side of things. But the flow of emotion has been going all over the place around the world. And I know that your clients are calling you up going, dude, I don't know what's going on, man, but I can almost feel it right now. What is causing this ebb and flow of darkness and shadow right now that we can nearly see and feel and taste?
Well, from astrologer friends, I understand that the heavens are teeming with very radical and unusual, unique astrological configurations that are often comprised through the nature of diametric oppositions, and these are very, very unique. So, we have above our heads, around us, the energy of teeming spheres that are moving through extraordinary trajectories that are evolving in their own rights. And this is really affecting the planet on which we live, as was prophesied by the Mayan or the Mayan post the precession of the equinoxes in December 21st, 2012. So firstly, I feel that that's what's actually going on. But at the same time, what's happening with our own consciousness is that we're arresting the possibility of what it is to become sovereign in our soul, what it is to become the master mistress of our own destiny. And one of the ways that we human beings do this through living duality is to choose desperation rather than inspiration.
Go ahead, continue.
And and that begins a huge story into the sorts of choices that are being made, which in my consciousness give an illustration of the fact that the major theme is a theme of diffusion and disassociation. When we go back, for example, to last November, when we began to see the great dispute between Hillary and Donald, and the fact that possibly Donald would move into a position of ascendancy, which indeed he has, that there became this extraordinary disorientation and dismay and despair in many, many people.
Now, go ahead.
And of course, the continent of Europe is the continent that has been my home for many years. I was actually in the United States during the Brexit situation, when this referendum, the British people voted to leave the economic community. Now, I mean, for me, what this is actually all about is division, separation, diffusion, and disorientation. Whereas our spirit, our soul, is, I believe, taking us towards unification, taking us towards empathic inclusivity, and taking us towards the undeniable fact that we're all in this together, that we're all, that we all have blood pumping through our bodies, and that we all move through the exquisite symphony of what human nature is all about, which some of our brothers and sisters are trying to diffuse and diversify to such an extent that, we see some of the gross moral acts that are taking place around the world, or immoral acts, I should say, where human beings are being desiccated. Very simply, man's inhumanity to man. But at the same time, I feel that these mechanisms, from a social point of view, are leading us towards an understanding about how we can make very refined choices about the way that we move forward, particularly in relation to the political regime. Because what we're beginning to see is that the level of defined democracy in relation to some of the administrations that we see around the world are ineffectual. They're just simply not where they could be. So it allows us to see, well, this is part of my consciousness. Whatever I see without is a mirror of what's going on within. So what do I need to do to define the purity of democracy in my own life? And as a result of that, I believe that what we will do is to tune into a collective frequency, which is all about the betterment of the human species and not the destruction of the human species. But let's see what happens with the current political situation in the United States. On June the 9th, there will be, and I believe that June the 9th is a very unique day for an astrological shift, will be the general election in the United Kingdom. And we will see, probably, I prophesy, that the Democrats will take over, what we call the Labour Party will take over from the regime of the Republicans, or what we refer to as being the Conservative Party, that led us into the diffusion and the division that created Brexit.
Well, I got to jump in right there. We got to take a break. We're going to pick up right where we left off. Our guest tonight, Stewart Pearce. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, and this is Fade to Black. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Stewart, are you on Twitter?
I am.
What's your Twitter?
Absolutely. I twit all the time.
What's your Twitter handle?
It's Stewart Pearce.
There you go, and we'll be right back.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier, and this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. Yes. We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring 2 Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The 2 full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129 and use the promo code JCRTWS and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to JimmyChurchRadio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Teppy.
I'm getting older and noticing that my body just doesn't work as well as it used to. So I like to keep fit as possible by hitting the gym a few times a week. Recently, I started having a nagging bicep pain and it got so bad I couldn't even lift the weights. When I was complaining about it to a friend, he told me about Angioprim. He said chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in veins and arteries that may cause blockages. You know, after just 1 week of taking Angioprim, the pain was gone and now I'm back in the gym full strength. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in Angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. So to learn more, go to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com. Or talk to a trained consultant. Call Angioprim toll free at 877-882-7221. You'll feel better with more energy. Call 877-882-7221 or go to the website angioprim.com.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This portion of the show is brought to you by River Moon Coffee, makers of the Fade to Black blend. That's right. It's dark, it's complex, and it's smoky. Just go to the River Moon Coffee banner over at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Click on it. Use the promo code F2B Blend, and you're going to get 15% off of your order. Our guest tonight, legendary sound healer, master of voice, the one and only Stewart Pearce. Stewart, we started to talk a little bit about negativity, and you and I had a conversation about this earlier today. And I know that you read my little blurb that I put over on Facebook, but it was I want to address this because this is something that you know, not only you teach, but you heal. And my thing is, I just don't watch or read or participate in negativity because it makes me physically ill, Stuart. I mean, it just like changes me, and I don't dig it. That's my way of doing it. But I know that you read what I had said. What can we do to fight this negativity out there that seems to be so prevalent in our community? Oh, I think we lost Stewart. Stewart, are you there?
I'm here. No, I'm here. I'm here. You just faded for a moment.
Oh.
You faded into white space rather than black.
What can we do to fight the negativity, from so few of individuals, but they try to divide and conquer us?
Well, I believe that what they're intending to do is to make us fight. And I believe that what we need to do is to practice nonviolent, peaceful protest. In other words, stop fighting.
And when you start, when somebody, one of your clients, or you're speaking at an event and somebody brings this up, that they feel this right now, what's the first step?
Detach, feel stillness, and observe.
How so?
What do you mean, how so?
How do you do that? How do you detach?
Well, literally, because what we're seeing, this is all an extraordinary experiment, isn't it? And so these coruscating and corrosive energies from human behavior are coming to test us. And so what we need to do, firstly, is to really recognize that we're spiritual beings having a human experience. That what we're doing is we're part of the creative experiment of bringing soul into flesh. In the beginning was the sound, and the sound was made flesh and dwelt among us, full of grace and truth. So whatever's happening in our bodies, from an emotional point of view, is containable, is manageable. That's the first thing that we need to do, rather than go into defensive reaction, which is only reacting something that we've always acted many, many times before. If we detach from the sensation of the hurt, just by literally feeling our bodies grounded and by letting the breath go, and then breathing in, because what we tend to do defensively is to hold the breath, and then our bodies move into a sort of form of rigor mortis, where we feel immediate stress hormones moving through us like cortisol and adrenaline, and we pump into defensive action. But if we detach by literally just simply letting the breath go, feeling the whole of our physical stance absolutely grounded, so we really feel gravity, and then breathing in, we can choose another response. And that's what I mean, detach, feel stillness, and observe. The sort of stillness that we're all feeling in the depth of our meditation process, because the prima facie reason behind what I'm talking about is the fact that I'm assuming that all of we that are considering ourselves to be spiritual initiates or soul wayfarers, soul surfers, that we're actually spending at least once or twice a day finding silence, solitude, and stillness within our beings, so that we tune into our soul's interconnectivity with the source. Because right in the very core of our soul, right in the seat of our soul, namely our heart, is a USB port right into the source. And so when we get used to feeling the physiological comforts or eases or de-stresses or decompresses that meditation brings to us, what goes along in alignment with this, of course, is we make very intelligent choices about what we're putting into our bodies in terms of food or fluid substances. So we now know that, of course, more people are not drinking as much coffee and drinking more water, or not drinking a lot of caffeine tea and are drinking more water, and are looking to water-based diets, etc., etc., etc. I mean, I'm just being very sketchy as I say these things. But what they do is that all of these measures allow us to literally, in any given situation, move into a suspension of time where we feel stillness, and therefore we can choose a different level of consciousness in relation to the aggressor or the defiant being that's standing in front of us and being excessively negative in the way that you were describing it. Non-violent, peaceful protest.
And you almost need that daily to combat the bombardment of negativity that you just experience in daily life. Whether
Absolutely.
Whether it's mass media or somebody you don't like at work, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And
because we all know that emotional malfunction in behavior can be really, really toxic, just as sitting behind gas fumes coming out of our exhaust pipe can be immensely toxic, etc., 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 etc. So the question is, well, what do you want to do about it? Very simply, what choices? We always have a choice. Do I want to be buckle under and feel the toxicity affecting my body to a point where my body literally moves into an injurious state, or do I want to find something which is even calmer? And I feel that that's why many of us are really turning to the message that Al Gore and other extraordinary people have put about in terms of reconnecting with the ecology of our planet. This, for me, you see, in terms of the sound, the appreciation of sound or the soundscape that I live within, what I hear is a lot of noise. Now, whether it's the noise produced by the machines or the noise produced by the static electricity of malfunctional thinking and feeling in human beings, I see and I feel a lot of noise. So what I try to do wherever I am is to find ways of producing coherent harmonies in my body, and by using my voice in a harmonic way that entrains people into feeling that there is another possibility.
What do you do with negative people that are around you?
Well, I graciously move away as quickly as possible.
I know, right? It's so easy, isn't it? If most people don't want to have maybe the thought of a confrontation or the thought of negativity from the negativity of separating yourself from somebody that is negative. As crazy as that sounds, that's actually the truth. They don't want to deal with it. But the easiest way to start down that path is maybe look around you and try to figure out who is dragging you down and who is projecting negativity, because all that is going to do is pollute you, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And we're using the organ of transparency, aren't we? We're using this extraordinarily refined ability that we have to move into honesty and integrity, transparency, and open-mindedness, very simply. So we have a choice that when we see somebody behaving in a gross way, we have a choice to either interact with them, and through a process that I'm calling infronting, not confronting.
Right.
Because confrontation is always aggressive, whereas infronting is standing within the conviction of one's own transparency of soul, always trying to find a way into unconditional love and empathy through understanding or through comprehending the other person's dilemma, the other person's struggle.
Why is it?
Or, the simplicity is that when there is, a riot going on around one, do you really want to stay there? So for me, and what's been important is the development of energy management. That why would, just like plugging into a socket, why would I want to go and plug into this person when I know that I'm going to receive a really negative charge? Where I want to go is into a very positive socket where I receive a positive, harmonious, loving, thrilling, delightful, gracious, happy, stimulating, sexy, adventurous charge, not the opposite.
Why is it so hard to be good? Why? I mean, it's so much work, right? It's easy to be the bad guy. It's, you have, Stewart, we go through,
I always remember many, many years ago. Are you there, Jimmy?
Oh, I'm here.
Okay, cool. Many, many years ago, in a very magical and mysterious way, and I'm talking about over 40 years ago, I was drawn in a very mystical way to the Far East, to India. And I was drawn very specifically to one of the world's leading gurus, one of the world's leading avatars. And this was Sai Baba, who is a very extraordinary human being, who could literally turn water into wine, so to speak, and, produce vibhuti or produce jewels in his hands. And I always remember living in the ashram for about 3 weeks. And only 3 weeks, but it was an extraordinary experience where I spent on 3 occasions private time with Sai Baba. And what I'm referring to in my consciousness is the fact that on one particular occasion we were in Darshan, Sacred Blessing, where 3,500 people or 4,000 people were gathered. And I noticed that in the far corner was a level of darkness where there were many people who were very, very, very sick, and who, were also experiencing mental health challenges. And there were also, obviously the bandits and the corruptors were over in that corner. And it seemed that Baba was spending a huge amount of time over in the corner. And I remember turning to one of his leading brahmachari, one of the monks, and saying, "Why is Baba over there?" And he looked at me, and with a wry smile, he said, "You see, they're more interesting."
Right.
And so if you're a spiritual warrior, you don't sit at home. You go to battle.
Right.
You in other words, people like His Holiness the Dalai Lama or Sai Baba, and I'm just thinking of just these two as being evocations of the divine in human form, because they appear to move through our midst as the Bodhisattva live, the Bodhisattva meaning the living gods as human beings. And wherever they go, they are calm and peaceful and loving and smiling and strong about the way that they position themselves or pitch themselves up against the negativity and the toxicity that is there. But we always see that it's never judgmental or damning. It's all behavior. It's always gracious behavior. And that I find very remarkable.
Again, why is gracious behavior such hard work? It would seem that it would be more fun, and more people would be attracted to it if it just wasn't so much hard work. You talk to your kids growing up, you try to teach them the right thing, and the wrong thing is easier, right? Getting bad grades is easy. Getting good grades is hard work. Right? It's just, it's life. It's life. It's unbelievable. And compassion. Why is compassion such hard work? It should be the easiest thing out there. Everybody should be compassionate. Everybody should be gracious, but it's just difficult. It's hard work. You have to put a lot into it.
So really, I guess what we're saying is that love is really difficult.
It is. It's hard. It's easy to rob a bank.
It's an interesting statement, isn't it? Because it's an empirical statement that gives us very clear direction to the fact that we carry huge amounts of shadow, so that we're so involved in our shadow that we find it much easier to be shadowy, to lean towards the desperation rather than to move towards the light, even though we are beings of light. And I feel that, all that we're describing is the fact that for centuries we have been programmed into giving our power away to a system, a patriarchal system, that we're now staggering in the face of, or staggering in front of, and deciding that what we need to do is to create a completely neo-paradigm situation,
right,
where we no longer give our power away to the king or the prime minister or the president or the teacher or the judge or the policeman. In other words, to the patriarchal construct. And as a result of that, we come back into a radical sense of intrinsic inner balance,
right,
where we begin to balance out the male and the female, the light and the dark, the love and the hate, the essential dualities of life.
And do you feel that's an extraordinary statement? Because I look around the world today and I feel like we're starting to mature. Right, we're starting to grow up and get out of that adolescence thing that we've been stuck in for the last 2,000 years of partying and war and the self-destructive behavior, not only to self but to our planet too. And I think we're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. Right, we're all beings of light. Do you feel that's where we're at now? Do you feel this paradigm shift?
I concur. I absolutely concur. I think it's an extraordinary time to be alive. What's interesting is that all we need to do is to go into a major bookstore like Barnes & Noble or in the United Kingdom, Waterstones, these leading brand producers of books. And you can't get in the door for piles of books to do with self-empowerment. I've been working with light force. I've been working with light beings in the form of angels for over 30 years. And now what I'm actually seeing is that wherever you go, people are talking about angels. And in effect, I believe that what this means is that this is the dawning of the age of angels. And that what we're seeing in the gestation of our own process is the fact that what we're recognizing is that as we unplug from the patriarchy, one of the dangers of unplugging is that we become excessively narcissistic. And now what we're beginning to do is to recognize that there is no way that we can do all of this alone. That what we need to do is to find ways of standing firm in the conviction of our soul's might, of what I was suggesting earlier is discovering what our soul's sovereignty is all about. And then by doing this, we begin to recognize that we're the master mistresses of our own destiny, that the reason why we're here is very simple. It's to optimize our creativity full of love and joy. And as we begin to do this, we recognize that the law of attraction comes in, because what we hold in our minds, we can hold in our hands. And so we begin to realize that thought creates reality, and the feeling of the vibrational joy of acquiring this job or this relationship or this project or this invention, or I'm going to create an amazing party for the whole of the family and all of my friends are going to come. You know, whatever the dimension of creativity is all about, that we're learning that the law of attraction will allow us to recognize an essential relationship between our own individual will and divine will. And that's why the angels are with us.
And let's talk about that as we head into this break. We've got about 5 minutes. I want you to get this thought out, this answer out. When you say angels, are we looking at the biblical idea and dogma of angel, right? Which is fine, or something else here? So help me. What is your definition of angel?
I believe that an angel is an extraordinary light emission produced by divine thought. That angels, as angelus means, that they are the messengers or the emissaries of the divine.
I want to talk about the past a little bit here with your definition of angels. When ancient Egypt, it could be the Mayans, it could Machu Picchu. It doesn't matter. We can pick a religion around the world. We can go Asian. It does not matter. Indian. But they've always spoke about intelligence, knowledge coming from above and being spoken through light. And so could this also may have been something else, interdimensional, and maybe not necessarily the biblical definition of angel that
oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, for me, angels are extraterrestrial beings.
Right.
Well, let's go further. They're ultra-terrestrial beings. They're not even extraterrestrial. They're ultra-terrestrial. Absolutely. And of course, the angels that we're thinking about are now, probably in the minds of our listeners, can actually see that we're talking about angels in a very, very broad macrocosmic context, that they're actually not just simply these singular forms that are human beings with wings. I believe through what the angels teach me is that this was a form that was created by the early temple or by the early church to recognize the difference between the patriarchs, the saints, and the angels.
And you've just hit the nail on the head too, as well. And when you're in communication, is there? I mean, because these are higher advanced, forms of not only light but life in general, more advanced than us. Is there a bad angel?
Not in the slightest, no. That's a construct.
Right.
It's a construct that was created by the early church, or indeed the early temple, and we see it expounded and espoused throughout the Old Testament, particularly in the book of Revelations, where the angels fell. That's a construct that was created. The angels that come to me, they have one particular vibration, which is to love for the sake of love, whereas we human beings tend to love for the sake of being loved.
Is there ever, Stewart, take this the right way, not the wrong way, okay? Is there ever a trickster angel? Is there an angel that would maybe, practical joke, or is it always trust?
Belief, faith, and trust are the three concomitants of love, so I always feel that there is, it's all about love. However, the manifestation of orb phenomenon is really very extraordinary. And what I see around orbs, and sometimes hosting orbs that come in vast flocks, is rather a vibration of pure fun, a vibration of pure play, a vibration of pure willful naughtiness.
Yes.
But there is nothing destructive or negative about that energy. It's the trickster consciousness. It's like the monkey image of the playful innocent that just simply is so enraptured with being alive that they want to provide us with a show of how exciting it is to be alive. And sometimes, that the individual can be, as I've just said, beautifully naughty, which doesn't mean to say that they're actually engaged in negative or evil acts.
Right. Kind of like when your cat knocks a vase off the table, right?
Exactly.
Very interesting. When we come back, I do want to talk about the orbs. I want to talk about the feeling and the sight of sound. As strange as that is, you describe it wonderfully. So I want to touch upon that, but and get pretty deep into it. But the sight of sound. When did you first start to see sound and to start to understand it?
Well, it was really, really early on. I mean, the earliest memory that I have is looking up into a beam of white light that seemed to come together into a centrifuge, rather like a central orb-like emanation, or like a penumbra around the moon. And in this light was sound, pure sound, that was a mixture of what I now know is called the Om or a hum. And I believe that what I was actually hearing is my own mother leaning over the crib, and I must have been very, very young. And that's when immediately I was literally picked up and transported. I was levitated into this state of pure, iridescent wonder.
When you say literally,
my body lifted out of the crib.
That's incredible.
No, I didn't know that that's what was happening. I just felt lighter. But later on, when my consciousness grew, my mother was constantly talking about unusual phenomena around me when I was a small babe, and that often my body would apparently lift out of the crib.
I often wonder about experiences like that, Stewart, that maybe we've all had them, but they were at such a young age that we attribute it to something else, but we've all shared the same experience. Our guest tonight,
absolutely agree.
Our guest tonight, Stewart Pearce. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. More with Stewart right after this. You stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
End time is not what you thought. In their new book, 122436, authors Mike and Cheryl Gilmore bring forth a startling new idea on the beginning of humankind, how life begins on Earth, and when our Creator concludes this age. In the book, 122436, three small groups of individuals, separated by thousands of miles, discover together the answers to the beginning of our universe and all the life it contains. Mike Gilmore is the author of 5 Levels of Power novels and the Sled Investigation series. Cheryl Gilmore is current state director in South Carolina for MUFON and brings a lifetime of experience with UFOs and related fields. As a team, their new book about life in the near future on Earth sets aside most people's religious and scientific beliefs. Available exclusively on Amazon in softback for $8.99 or the ebook price for only $2.99. Remember, Amazon softback $8.99, ebook only $2.99. 122436. Get your copy today.
Hey there, quick question for you. Would you be okay with more energy, more endurance, thicker, healthier hair, a better mood, reduced appearance of wrinkles, improved sleep, improved blood pressure and cholesterol profiles, improved vision, improved memory? Okay then. Well now, have you heard of Nature's Youth RSF? It's from the anti-aging experts at nature'syouth.com. nature'syouth.com. See, at Nature's Youth, they understand exactly what it means to provide top-quality health products. And Nature's Youth customers not only improve their health, they know they're also providing their body with the right nourishment to maintain that peak performance and fight the aging process. If health, wellness, and nutrition are what you desire, choose Nature's Youth RSF. I did. You see, you're going to get older. It's just up to you how you feel when you get there. Get started today. Nature's Youth RSF. Simple to use, simple to order. Go to nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com. nature'syouth.com.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Rhys Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Stewart Pearce, legendary sound healer, master of voice. And this portion of the show is brought to you by our sponsor, Life Change Tea. Change your life. Everybody here, the entire Fade to Black team, family, everybody is on board with Life Change Tea. Go over to the banners at jimmychurchradio.com, click on getthetea.com, and just mention Jimmy when you order, either online or over the phone, and you're going to get yourself some free shipping. Getthetea.com. Stewart, I wanted to, and I've seen some images that you have with orbs. And by the way, can the audience see some of these images? Do you have them posted on the website?
Yeah, on both websites, there are web pages where you can see them. So, for example, on stewartpearce.com, www.stewartpearce.com, that's STEWARTPEARCE. If people go to, let me just go online because I'm sitting at my laptop.
Yeah, I'm actually doing the same.
People.
Right.
If people were to go to the Soul's Voice in the on the homepage toolbar, they'll see three preferences arising. At the bottom, there is the Angels of Atlantis. And as you scroll over it, or the cursor goes to it, you can see angelic prayers and angelic orbs. So you can click onto the angelic orb page, and suddenly there is an absolute feast of photographs of these amazing, and indeed videos, of these amazing shots that people have sent me from all over the world. I have a very rich library of orb photographs.
Now, we're posting right now up on Twitter, everybody, so you can look at some of these amazing orb pics that Stewart has. And I wanted to touch upon a couple of these and get your comment on it. This shot of Machu Picchu, I mean, that's ridiculous. And I mean, what are we? I mean, when you see that image, what is speaking to you? That's pretty incredible. I mean, that's a multicolored, multi-dimensional orb floating in space above Machu Picchu. There's no other way to describe it.
Yes, it was taken by one of my clients, who's a very remarkable woman. Who, wherever she goes in the world, she is able to garner these extraordinary photographs of orbs, and she's a world traveler. So I have some astonishing photographs that I'm going to put up on the webpage this week of Petra. and these amazing orbs. So the orb that I'm seeing here, for me, this is the emanation of Archangel Metatron, who is the supernal teacher, and who is, if you like, a psychic or spiritual guardian of some of the profound emanations that are arising from extraordinary sacred sites like Machu Picchu.
Some of these are even emotion, and I don't know what to say. They're very, very breathtaking. I want to really quick. We're getting these posted up, but there's this. I don't know how to explain it, but it's a gentleman. He's got like a white a white cloth up in the air, and this orb is just shooting down in front of him.
It's actually a woman. But yeah,
okay.
She's an electrified position.
Oh, she's very feminine.
Orb, yeah,
she's very feminine. I apologize for that. Now that I take another look,
it's okay.
She's very feminine. That is a crazy shot. As far as orb pictures go, that's pretty extraordinary. Again,
well, if you scroll to the bottom of the webpage, because there are just a few photographs here, I have to put more up. There's one right at the bottom, which is an even more extraordinary shot. Do you see it of a woman standing on a stage,
right,
with a microphone, and there's this extraordinary emanation next to her. Can you see how the orb downloads, and then you get this vast rivulet of light? That's pretty extraordinary.
Yeah, it is.
This was a concert that we were giving for His Holiness the Dalai Lama, who's sitting there, and I saw this happening. Except I saw purely and simply the orbs arriving. And then when the photograph was taken, we saw what we're seeing now.
Now, can other people see the orbs as you describe them? Or do you think you just have that, not you singularly, but at that moment, you were the only one in the room seeing it?
Oh, no, I'm sure that there were many, many, many people. There's nothing special about what I do.
Exactly.
That many, many people. It's just that I give credence to the vision of it. That often the visions of these amazing supernatural beings are much more tangible to me than human behavior. So I give credence to it. I give believability to it, and it makes wherever I am and I see the orbs, it makes me feel so extraordinary, and so I go towards the light.
Now, when this happens. And I have 100 questions right now, Stewart. I'm just trying to get to one here. Okay. Do you hear a sound?
Yeah.
And what is it?
So, for example, when I met the 12 Angels of Atlantis, and there is actually a shot of the 12 angels on this webpage. It's just come up. And you can see that it's in a classical building. And there are these very, very large orbs. This was taken in the Vatican. So it's one of the photographs that I got of the 12 Angels of Atlantis. So when I met them initially, excuse me, I was in Glastonbury, which is the heart chakra of the world in Somersetshire in the United Kingdom. And it was actually on a very remarkable weekend, or during a very remarkable weekend in August of 1987, so it's 30 years ago to this year. And this was the harmonic convergence. The harmonic convergence was a very remarkable astrological configuration where a grand trine opened in the heavens, was prophesied by the Mayan peoples, and they suggested that 144,000 rainbow light warriors would be awakened. I believe that we, as light workers, were awoken at that point so that we could move forward over these 30 years and, literally healing ourselves and therefore producing a quality of light fusion or light emanation from our bodies that would also be used in light workership around the world. As healers, as therapists, as coaches. And during this time, I was invited by a friend who had a crystal store selling crystals in the small town of Glastonbury. And I was invited, and I thought, well, this would be a very cool proposition, because I love Glastonbury, and I thought that this particular festival was going to be very extraordinary. So I arrived, and I started providing people with psychic readings, which is something that I was beginning to formalize then. This is 87. And I felt absolutely exhausted by the quality of the energies that were moving through this very small English town, but they were very ecstatic. So during the lunch break, I went and sat on the tor to meditate, surrounded by many, many, many people. And as I meditated, after 2 or 3 minutes of meditation, I heard extraordinary sounds, these high pulsations of light, these harmonics, these overtones that were just of otherworldly status. And I opened my eyes, and that's when I saw the orbs. So I know that light is very closely accompanied by sound, that the downloading, so to speak, of pure light is from the universe or from the cosmos, is that we know that light is the purest energy that we have. And so when light downloads, it becomes color, and when color downloads, it becomes sound, and when sound downloads, it becomes matter. So crystals, I believe, are solidified sound.
The ability to do this, is it trainable? Is it teachable?
The ability to do what? To become an orb?
That too. That would be good.
That would be interesting, right? Well, I believe we're all becoming orbs, you see. You know, this new phenomenon of the human angel.
Right.
I believe that what we're doing is that we're really, through all the years of meditation and purification, of sorting out our own shadows, sorting out our own karmic processes, that what we're doing is that we're aligning our physical bodies to such a degree that the pranic cord within the spine is opening, and along it, we're seeing how the chakra, the databases of our bodies, these biocomputers, are becoming purified. And when they become purified, they literally diffuse immense amounts of light. And as a result of that, the 8th chakra, which is the chakra of the universal heart chakra, which is the first transpersonal chakra, that is just cascading with so much light that it pours around the body of the individual. So they look as though they're like a Roman candle.
Right.
And the energy moves into a circle. The orb phenomenon, apparently, the sphere of the orb, is the most profound and easiest way that energy, particularly energy that is of supernatural denomination, can travel through weight, space, and time on planet Earth. And that's why we're seeing so many orbs.
Yeah, and so the ability, I mean, that would be just so magical if somebody was able to, like you, to concentrate, to meditate, hear the orbs around you, right? And identify maybe what is happening and open up your eyes and then see them because you know that they are there, right? Because you have heard them. Is that teachable? Is that something you can make somebody aware of?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, this is what I'm doing around the world. I'm teaching people to really sensitize the whole of their kinesphere,
right,
so that they can open, feel themselves to be centrally, absolutely grounded through gravity and through stillness, but then to allow their energy fields to expand to such an extent that they begin to feel orb manifestation or other supernatural presence coming in. Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's something that the angels have taught me to do.
Can you hear color?
Oh, absolutely. Each color has a different frequency.
Help me.
Oh, sure.
Okay, now I'm a musician, so I can connect with what you're saying here. But for the audience, describe that. When you hear a color, and I know it sounds backwards, right, for the audience, but when you hear a color, how does that happen?
For me, in the way that I perceive it, is that I see shards of light moving in front of me, around me, above me, behind me, below me, and either side of me. I see shards of light that I pick up either centrally through my focused eye or peripherally, in the way that, for example, if we still ourselves and look straight ahead at a particular object, as soon as we begin to feel the soft focus of what this is all about, we become aware of the fact that our eyes are able to peripheralize around us. And in the space around us, we can see either aura, or we can see shards of light, or beams of light, or orbs of light. That is something that we can work on to, train the optic nerve. There are certain colors that we can place in lenses within spectacles that allow us to be able to see more clearly, which, for example, is a technique that is used for people who are very, very acute dyslexics, that there are certain lenses that shift the optic nerve so that they're able to move from a state of unreadedness into a state of being able to read. So the way that I actually see it is that I see the light and then I hear the sound, or vice versa. Mm-hmm. I hear the harmonic and then I see light coming in. And for me, it works in waves. So as a child, I remember experiencing, as I was saying just now, about the story of this beautiful beam of light with a penumbra around it and a hum or a sound of om within it, which I believe was my mother's voice, humming or lullabying over my crib. That, you know, there was that, but at the same time, there are these grace-filled or these benign or these, you know, these very beautiful energies. I was also aware of the fact that there were these other shards of light that looked like broken glass. So, for example, when somebody was very angry and they were literally behaving angrily, I would see these rods of light that would shoot through the air and would literally penetrate into people's bodies. So that was rather frightening, I remember. Yeah.
Is that unharmonic? You know, is there any disharmony or conflicting tones that fight each other and are distorted and maybe don't sound musical to the ear? Maybe frightening?
So we hear dissonance. We don't hear consonance.
Right.
We hear dissonance, yeah. So it's like hearing that the note is completely out of pitch.
Right.
It's, you know, it's not even sharp. It's just, you know, it's very painful to listen.
Yeah, kind of like David Lee Roth in 1985, right?
Right.
Yeah, you're picking up what I'm putting down. The and that ability, what I find so amazing about it is that when it's coming at you, is there a point where this may be angelic and also a conversation that comes out of the harmonic?
Well, yeah, I mean, I believe that extraterrestrial or indeed ultra-terrestrial intelligence is communicated through the pulsations of light into color and into sound. And so it's not necessarily a linguistic that we're hearing. It's pi pulsations that move rhythmically into our consciousness and then bring about emotional or feeling states or indeed thought forms within our bodies that allow us to realize that we're receiving a very special administration or a very special downloading of intelligence. At the same time, we know that many of the people that claimed to be abductees during the 80s and the early 90s, that were being, you know, because our planet was being visited by the Greys, we know that many people who were abducted and taken into spaceships, they experienced the same emanation, where they weren't actually being spoken to by the extraterrestrials. You know, I don't know if you ever worked with or interviewed Dolores Cannon. Alas, she's now dead. But she had a prime experience of working with people as a therapist who had gone through these extremely traumatic situations where they were being spoken to by the Greys or by other extraterrestrial beings, and they were receiving pulsations of light into their bodies that then triggered neural pathways whereby they were able to experience a form of speech or a form of intelligent knowing.
I wanted to ask you, I've interviewed lots of students of Dolores, but, you know, unfortunately, she's no longer with us. Mm-hmm. I'm going to describe something to you, and I want your reaction. I've had a lot of, when I say a lot, let's go with dozens of guest callers into the show that have described spheres of light that have come down with a being on the inside of it, maybe with their hands on levers, or controlling an orb that has gone up a street and it may be taking a turn that is I've had this same experience described to me over and over again. Is there a connection with what you have experienced and something like that? And have you heard the same thing?
I have, yeah, from many clients around the planet. I've heard of a very extraordinary manifestation or phenomena where they've actually seen vast orbs and believed them to be spacecraft. And initially, the orb would be a suffused light that would then take on very specific impressions or images where you literally could see beings alive within the orb and often seemingly controlling instruments. So yeah, absolutely. Again, I feel you see that this is to do with the nature of the fact that the sphere or the orb is and I'm not a scientist, so I'm being slightly caught with my description of this, but I've heard from an eminent scientist that the sphere or the orb is one of the basic geometric forms that can move very easily through weight, space, and time.
Yes, I've had a couple of, I would call friends, second, pretty credible backgrounds with this that were not looking for an ET experience. Didn't come from our community, so to speak, right? One was a law enforcement guy. I won't get into specifics, but he and his partner were on duty, night patrol, in the downtown area of a northern city, where this light appeared in front of them, came down the street, and the both of them looked, and there was a being in the inside of it with his hands on levers, and it turned up the street and then went up the block and disappeared out of their sight. And they both looked at each other and he was the deputy. I mean, he was the commanding officer on that shift. And he looks and they were like, okay, what do we do with this? Right? Do we put this in the books? Do we log this? Did you see this? Are we going to admit to this tomorrow? And they didn't come from that kind of background or the UFO side of things. But it's exactly what has been reported to you. What do you think ultimately is going on here?
Well, the planet is evolving. Our species is evolving. It is intended for this planet to become a fifth-dimensional planet. At the moment, it's ostensibly a three-dimensional planet. In other words, the planet is evolving as everything does evolve. Nothing is static, nothing is permanent. The universe and the element of the source is an infinitely unfolding creative possibility full of love and joy, so it's constantly evolving. And as a result of the evolutionary measures that are taking place on our planet, I believe that intelligent species from elsewhere is visiting, or they are visiting us, because they're absolutely intrigued by what's taking place on our planet. The Angels of Atlantis, these 12 angels that came to me in 1987, give me a lot of teaching about this, because in a sense, they, as I was saying earlier, they are extraterrestrial beings that have been in governance, if you like, of human intelligence in a very benign and gracious way for millennia. They go all the way back into ancient Kabbalah, and they are known as the Malakim. And the Malakim is another way of describing, in Hebrew, the royal angels, meaning that the Malakim were the angels that overlit the Melchizedek. We talk of an angel as being Melchizedek, or we talk of the Old Testament prophet as being Melchizedek. But Melchizedek in Hebrew means Melchizedek, the priest kings, or the priest queens. And so actually they overshadow, or they overlight the 12 Great White Brotherhood that we know as the Intergalactic Council, i.e. the extraordinary intelligence that is overshadowing or overlighting the nature of evolution within human consciousness. So intelligent species are coming from elsewhere to visit, to quantify, to collaborate, to observe, because they're highly curious, what's taking place within the human species. Now, the angels that I work with, or that work with me, I should say, tell me that there are we are one of 24 civilizations living within the cosmos, and that most of these civilizations look on us with absolute awe because they don't have bodies.
Oh, is that right? Well, okay. Now, awe, in a good way, maybe jealousy, right? Because we have the physical self. I can appreciate that. But are they also tripping at our own, the hate that is so prevalent on this planet, too, as well? They probably can't even relate to it.
Yeah, they just look at it and think, wow, what a misuse of energy.
Right.
There's no judgment, you see. The judgment is a human manifestation. There is no judgment at all. It's just, wow, that's very intriguing. But at the same time, what's wonderful is that the vibration is so high that they look on us with awe because they don't have bodies. And in effect, what they're saying is, how do you do that? Because they just think and it happens. But it doesn't even happen because they don't live in time. Happening suggests that there's an interval within time where a shutter is switched on and then switched off. They just happen to have it. Quite extraordinary. Yeah, I want to stay on this as we head to the break. I want to stay on this when we come back. But let me ask you this, Stewart. Since World War II, there hasn't been, an offensive use of nuclear weapons. And I would like to think that that's not by accident, that there may be some divine or off-planet intervention so we don't self-destruct and absolutely ruin everything. But am I wrong in being that positive in that thought that maybe there is some kind of divine intervention on our part? I believe that there can be divine intervention. I also believe that intelligent species beyond the human species are looking at the nature of what the human species is engaged in as a cosmic experiment to do with free choice, and that they don't experience the quantification or the solidification of toxicity that we experience in terms of negative feeling as a result of the negative actions that are taking place around us. That they look on us and want to intervene because we were talking about divine intervention. And on occasion, I believe that this is so. For example, we know that the 9/11 experience was one of the most horrendous experiences that have taken place on our planet. Right. Okay, so there's that perspective. But nothing is singular, everything is plural. There's another perspective which suggests that this was a revolution of human consciousness. And if anybody has actually visited Ground Zero on Manhattan, there is an immense think well, so to speak, a cosmic well that has been opened up as a result of that took place. And the angels teach me that although 3 planes found their destination, the original plan was 7 planes, and the 4 other planes were stopped by angelic intervention. So there is occasion when this can take place. The experience of going to Manhattan and going there to the memorial is extraordinary. I have to tell you, we did it last year, Rita and I, and we went late at night, Stewart. We went about 10 o'clock at night. Right. And what a powerful, powerful experience that was. I mean, it was just moving beyond words. Yeah, I quite agree. I did the same thing last year. And I found it immensely effective, and how the energy penetrated right into my heart chakra, so that it was very difficult to not weep. It was. No, it was exactly like that. I mean, you could not help. We got to head to a break here, but I'll tell you a funny experience. We were there, and this family shows up, husband, wife, and like 6 kids, right, to go and visit. Yeah. And they're walking up, and the kids are like goofing around and playing, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, right? Big group. Yeah. And the dad turned around and grabbed one of the kids by his ear. Quiet. It was just like, man, and it was solemn after that. It was just like, man, show the respect that this place needs to have. It is very powerful. Our guest tonight, Stewart Pearce. When we come back, I'm going to stay right on ET and advice and his angels. And we're going to do all of that next. This is Fade to Black.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station.
Salt Lake City, Utah. Van Buren, Arkansas.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on the smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
My name's Doug Salamone, and I have a new show for you that will blow your mind. So what kind of show is it? It's a podcast, and it's called In the News. And you can find us at inthenewspodcast.com. We talk about what's new, what's crazy, what's out of this world, and we'll dissect those thoughts, ideas, and events right here on the show. And hear all the news you may have missed or really don't give a crap about, but want to hear anyways. So come on over and meet me at inthenewspodcast.com. That's inthenewspodcast.com.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why fade to black? Because you never got that pony, damn
it. This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow Stewart at Stewart Pearce. It's that simple. His websites are stewartpearce.com and the Angels of Atlantis.com. Now, Stewart, can everybody have access to all of your books and materials on both sites?
Oh, God, yeah. But I mean, particularly through StewartPearce.com, because the Angels of Atlantis.com is really a temple. It's a non-commercial site for people to go to receive healing if they feel disposed to receive healing. So if we go to StewartPearce.com, you'll see that there is a shop page that you can click on, and that automatically takes one through to ways of being able to access the downloads of MP3s as well as the oracles and the books. Yeah.
All right. We'll get that up in Twitter. And again, you can just go to jimmychurchradio.com and click in Stewart's bio right there. Both links are there. Stewart, with your angels, and I love putting it that way, what is the message today? What is it that you're hearing and connecting with?
Very simply, as I was referring earlier on, probably about 250 beats ago, that part of our evolution as we begin to see that we can become the master mistresses of our own destiny. Part of our evolution is that we unplug from a system that we have always fed, and now we're beginning to see through blind faith that the system is not possibly what it purported to be, because so many of the people that we invested in positions of power have abused that power, and we're beginning to see a tremendous amount of corruption. So this is all part and parcel of just a wake-up process so that we literally become the master mistresses of our own destiny. We unplug from blind faith and we develop visionary faith, which is one of the reasons why we're living in this age of transparency and have produced social media and, of course, the extraordinary power of the internet to produce what transparency, to produce the transparency that allows us to see our lives in the way that we are seeing them.
How easy, if somebody says to me, and I hear this, quite often, that somebody has been spoken to, I'm getting messages, somebody is speaking to me, but I don't know what to do with it. I don't know how to answer back. I don't know how to follow up. And I hear this all the time. What advice can you give to somebody that is having those experiences that are similar to your own, but they don't know what to do?
Gosh, what a beautiful question, but it's sort of multifarious, isn't it? Where do I begin? Because it's always to do with the very specific orientation of the individual. Because, the statement suggests that they have the ability to open their intuition into realms of psyche, but at the same time, there's a principle of disempowerment within them where they feel that they don't have the ability to interpret or intuit what it's all about. And my statement is always just sit in stillness and ask, who are you? And then you'll hear. And you'll hear through a sequence of not just overt hearing in the way that we do by listening to this conversation that Jimmy and I are having over the radio, or listening to a piece of music or whatever, that we hear deep within us and we recognize a sense of knowing within the vibration of hearing, and then we begin to interpret whatever the information is. It's through a quality of knowing on a feeling level. So we need to become more aware of the way that our feelings function within our bodies so that we can really trust through the heart's counsel whether it is benign or whether it is of a dark force, whether it is positive, whether it's negative, whether it's going to be constructive or destructive, by just tuning into our hearts. The mind, the head will always lead us to division. So our minds will always say, shall I, shan't I, will I, won't I? But if we go into our hearts, something that I'm calling heart dowsing, that if we really feel our hearts, our heart will always tell us whether it's a journey that we should take or a journey we should not take.
And that sounds like simple advice, right? It does. It kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier. It's hard. It's work to do just that, right? It is, but you have to take the first step, don't you? Otherwise, you're not going to get anywhere.
Well, absolutely, yes, yeah. I mean, and we're all waking up to how to govern our psychophysical process purely and simply by releasing the stress hormones that are produced by doing. Most of the time we're not doing what we could be doing because they say so, whoever they happen to be. So we become even more stressed about the fact that we're not doing what we could be doing, or whatever our doing is not good enough.
Right.
And then we begin to recognize, one of the ways that we can constructively see this is that the problems of our world, as Einstein said, that there's no way that we can resolve the problems of our world by using the same strategy that created them. And so, of course, everybody who is within the leading edge thought of human potentiality is saying, well, what has created them? Well, it's obvious that an excessive cerebralization has created it by doing, and producing these attenuating circumstances of all of this stress hormone within our bodies. And so this is obviously not a very sensible way of being able to create paradigms that resolve or heal or release or transform or transmute some of the negativities that we see going on in front of us. So what's being put forward is another hypothesis that if doing is created many of the unresolved conflicts in our world, that perhaps if we actually spent more time being in meditation, so that we're doing being, not just being in an aimless fashion, but literally being. In being, we feel good. If we move into meditation, if we move into relaxation processes, if we move into Tai Chi, if we move into yoga, if we move into, maybe it's a recreational walk, or maybe we're jogging if we're runners, or indeed, if we're aware of what is taking place in our bodies when we go to a gym, that we release endorphins in our bodies. We release chemicals such as serotonin and oxytocin, and we feel good. And in this space of feeling good, we can make constructive decisions about the way that we can literally unplug from negativity and plug into positivism. And then we begin to realize that thought is a living energy. And that when we start praying, automatically our bodies shift, or as we saw through Masaru Emoto's work, the miracles in water, we can begin to see that literally by praying, we alter one of the most powerful elements of our planet, which is the fact that we are a water planet.
And hearing this as an adult, I think we all get it, and we know what our goals should be. But part of the reason why we got here is the way that we have literally screwed up our children's lives and our planet. I don't know how we went off the rails and got off track, but we certainly have. How do we instill these thoughts into our children at a very young age so they understand as they grow up where we are, instead of having to relearn it all over again?
Well, the point is that our innocents already know all of this.
Right.
All we have to do, it's like the key ingredient of education, which is educare, which is to lead out. So we don't need to impose. All we need to do is provide them with the experience of recognizing what they already know. It reminds me of another thought, which is to do with the fact that although 85% of the population of the United States and the United Kingdom believe in the manifestation of angels, that if you say this in an academic situation, or you say what I'm about to say in a board meeting in the corporate world, well, why don't we rely on the angels to provide us with magic and miracles to resolve this immense crisis that we've seen? You'd probably be shown out of the door. But if we go back 400 years ago, 500 years ago, for example, during the Italian Renaissance, we know that there was a very common belief, which was that everybody had a guardian force, a guardian angel, that in Rome was referred to as a genie, and the genie gave you genius.
Mm-hmm.
So Michelangelo didn't believe that he painted the Sistine Chapel. He believed that the force of God from an inspirational point of view moved through him, and he as a vessel with the craft skills that he had literally became overtaken by the divine, and the genius was the genie of his guardian angel, constructively providing him with ways of being able to perceive perspective and dimension and create the wonder that he created. In Greece, it was the guardian angel was known as the demon, which of course we've demonized. So there was at one point, and I think you referred to it earlier on, that most of our indigenous peoples have believed in these supernatural forces that have always provided supernal aid to human beings. It's only really over the last 450 years that we've unplugged from that, simply because in the early part of the 17th century, the thought police came along and said, look, whatever you're believing in, it doesn't work that way. The planet is merely a lump of matter hurtling through space, and you can do with it whatever you like, because it doesn't have a soul. I mean, a bird doesn't have a soul, the deer doesn't have a soul, the waters don't have a soul, the rock doesn't have, the mountain, the trees, the forest don't have a soul. And now what we're beginning to realize is that this is pure bunkum.
Right. We are all
that
connected.
Actually, yes. That we go into nature and we feel a force and we know it's alive.
It's so funny. I have a garden. Rita and I have a garden, and we walk. And I've never felt. So I look at plants now. I don't want to I don't want to disturb them, right? I want them to be happy. I really, and you start to, and pets have a lot to do with that too as well, but everything is in harmony out there, and it has been for millions of years. And there's a reason why it works. We can't disrupt it. It's our own destruction. Like bees. Bees. If we lose bees, you and I are gone in 2 years, Stewart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everything works together. I wanted to change gears just slightly, staying on the same point though. You brought up crystals earlier, and I have a collection. Rita has a collection. If I'm attracted to something, I buy it, right? Or I steal it. I'll literally just commit a crime and steal it if I'm connected to it. Why are crystals so important to us? I cannot live without them now. I don't know if it's my mind messing with me, but certainly I feel a connection to crystals like the rest of nature.
Well, isn't it because you feel that there is a charge, there's an electromagnetic charge within the crystal, which is providing you with the intoxication of a feeling of well-being, of joy, of vitality?
And is there something that you would steer away from? Is there a bad crystal, in other words, or can you not go wrong?
Well, I mean, what is bad? I feel that bad as a state is purely relative. I tend not to use the words good or bad or right or wrong because there's such value judgments, aren't there? Is the force negative or is it positive? Maybe that's an easier way of looking at it.
Right.
Well, sure. I mean, sure, we know this because we know that there are certain crystalline islands or volcanic islands where you just have to fly over them and you feel really uncomfortable, or if you walk upon them, you know that there's something going on there that is really disturbing because of whatever the force is, that there's some form of psychic dustbin that is welling up within the island or within the sink well. But, as we've seen over the last 25, 30 years, the point is that as spiritual wayfarers, reviewing the fact that crystal structures have a negative vibration rather than a positive vibration, that we're also learning constructive means whereby we can purify those crystals in their negativity. And one of the great things that, one of the great elements, I should say, that helps clear crystal is sound. And if not sound, use sodium, use salt.
Interesting. And all crystals are affected at some frequency, whether it's light or sound at some point.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, they are born of sound and they are born of light. So I believe that crystals are solidified sound. I have 3 crystals in my temple apartment back in London, because I'm in LA at this moment. And these crystals produce, when the frequency of the connectivity of human beings around it during a meditation circle or whatever, when it reaches a certain point, the crystals emanate a sound.
Lately I'm on a shungite binge.
Yeah.
I can't get enough of shungite. Yeah. I've got a shungite pyramid here, a giant one. It's incredible.
Well, isn't it interesting that shungite has really come to us only over the last 7 or 8 years? And we know that it's one of the most powerful crystals that we can use to protect ourselves from negative electromagnetic forces.
That's right.
And, shungite, are you aware of what the Russian Navy does?
Yes. Yeah.
Isn't that fascinating?
It is. And it's almost, it's not a supernatural thing for the Russians when it comes to shungite.
Yeah.
No, this is a medical. This is just as real as taking aspirin over here. It's pretty extraordinary what they do with it over there. They have shungite rooms where you detoxify, right?
Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah, it is totally fascinating. I love this stuff. I wanted to kind of close out on this thought, and we keep going back to ancient Egypt and lost civilizations, but there was a magical time when Egypt got it. I mean, they really, really got it. And for about nearly 1,000 years, Stewart, no war, right?
Yes.
Everything was art, song, music, happiness, growth, creativity, food, partying. You know what I mean? It was just, and they figured it out. You know, they lost it. They eventually lost it, but they showed the world that you don't have to have war. You don't have to do that to be successful. You don't need that to move ahead. You don't need it to be creative. And we have been taught today that war creates technology and advancement and creativity and invention, you know, and I just think that's completely wrong. But the Egyptians truly got it for almost 1,000 years, didn't they?
Absolutely. Which was a mirroring of what took place in Atlantis as well. Because I do believe that the Egyptian civilization, in the way that we know it, was a colonization from Atlantis when Atlantis sunk beneath the waves in around 12,000 BC.
With your Angels of Atlantis, is that what you found out?
Yeah, I mean, they call themselves the Angels of Atlantis because, as we know, early civilization in the form of Atlantis, Mu, or Lemuria, were experiencing a level of physical and psychic intelligence that is far superior to anything that we actually have. So they teach me a tremendous amount. And the reason why they call themselves the Angels of Atlantis is not necessarily to romanticize or fable the legend of Atlantis, but to recognize the fact that there were certain principles that were being lived by the Atlantean peoples that they wish to recreate in us today. And that there are many human beings that are waking up to their spirit, waking up to soul, and waking up to the fact that there is a very deep memory or a sense of remembering within their consciousness of being part of former lives, in being part of Atlantis, being part of Lemuria, being part of ancient Egypt, or some of the ancient South American and Far Eastern tribes, or indeed civilizations. And so what they're trying to do is to recognize that we have, as an opportunity of this great stage of gestation that we're moving through, this evolutionary process that we're moving through, that we have the possibility of moving from a double helix into a triple helix DNA. Because we know that within our bodies, there is the potential for a 12 helix DNA. So in other words, we have 64 codons of DNA, but we're only living 12 of those. And so the other 44 are literally dormant within our bodies. Isn't that extraordinary?
It is.
So we can awaken all of this. So this is the inspiration of the angels. And the first thing that we need to do is not just to get physiologically healthy, but what we need to do is to become emotionally really intelligent. Because feeling is the language of the soul, not thinking. And most people, when they're going through crisis, they don't know what they're feeling. They just know that they feel like shit, but they don't know what actually shit feels like. So the work that I'm doing around the world as I teach the angels methodology or ideology is to allow people to understand how they can define what their feeling processes are, so that if they're working through the lower vibrations of anger, of discontent, of fear or depression or anxiety, that they can transmute these into the higher domain of experiencing joy, of experiencing innocence, of experiencing imagination and flights of fancy, that brings them into a state of, if you like, sustainable delight.
All of this vast knowledge, well, let's just stay with the word knowledge because we're going to run out of time. Are you suggesting from Lemuria, from Mu, Atlantis, what have you, a pre-civilization, high technology civilization? Oh,
absolutely.
Are you suggesting that?
But a technology that is also dependent, or based rather, not dependent, on an emotional technology, an emotional intelligence of profound degree. Absolutely. And you know, we know that, for example, civilizations rise and fall.
Yes.
And our civilization rose and it is now falling. It will become something else. But what's interesting is that there are certain precepts that keep the membrane of our humanity functioning all the way through these extraordinary times of change. And they are 12 in number. They are simply love, compassion, empathy, inclusivity, mercy, humility, etc., 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 etc. These are the jewels that keep we human beings sane, and that's what the angels are teaching.
Now, I usually end a conversation with this question, and for you, it's going to be extraordinarily profound. I can't wait to hear your answer. How'd you get so smart? How did you get your feet on the ground and get to where you are?
Oh, my goodness. How did I get so smart? Well, I don't consider myself to be smart. I just ask questions. So the biggest question that I've always asked and continue to ask is why? And what I found is that many of my teachers were not able to provide me with the answers of why. So what I did was to go to, I went to the consciousness of what spirit is all about. I went to the consciousness of what life is all about. And, you know, life was and occasionally can be extremely challenging. So what I've learned, I really enjoy my joys and my triumphs, but I've never learned anything by them. I will celebrate until I'm, as it were, blue in the face, you know, the triumphs and the glory and the delight. But all of the major lessons that I've learned are through immense suffering.
Have you found your bliss, Stewart?
I'm beginning to, Jimmy. I'm really beginning to. I've just had my 63rd birthday, and I'm beginning to really see that the mystery is, you know, the miasma of the mystery is parting, and I'm beginning to see the light. So I'm feeling more and more and more a sense of nirvana.
Thank you for coming on tonight. And
it's been a joy.
It's
been
so wonderful.
Much.
What's up next? Where are you speaking? Where can somebody come and see you?
Well, you know, here I am in LA for the next 2 weeks, and I'm running a workshop this weekend, which anybody can see from the website, www.stewartpearce.com. I'm also seeing a number of people in private consultation that come to me for something called soul reading. And then I go to New York City on the 8th of June. And I'm running a retreat between the 9th and the 11th at the famous Omega Institute, which is called the Magnetic Voice. And then I'm running workshops in both New York and also in Philadelphia. In fact, on the summer solstice, June the 21st, we're doing the most amazing evening presentation, which is called Enchantment in Philadelphia.
And all of that is on StewartPearce.com.
Absolutely, yes.
Enjoy the rest of your time here in Los Angeles. The weather is perfect. The weather, tonight's the night after the show. Go out and take a walk. It's extraordinary outside. Thank you so much, Stewart.
Bless you. I've had an absolute joy of a time, all as a result of you. So thank you. I'm very humbled and honored by you inviting me on your program.
Right back at you, Stewart. All right? The honor is all mine.
You take care.
You too. Thank you so much, Stewart.
Much love.
Right back at you. Stewart Pearce, everybody. What a conversation. Just go to StewartPearce.com. It's very simple. Just go to Jimmy Church Radio, click on it. And also, of course, the Angels of Atlantis.com. All of his books are there. Angelic Heart Sigils Oracle. Go get it. The Heart's Note. Do it now. The Angels of Atlantis. Stewart Pearce. Thank you so much, Stewart. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I'll be right back.
Here, and you are listening to my boy Jimmy Church on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to
So you went to dinner last night, you had your favorite pasta. Ugh. Or maybe you had a heavy, spicy meal and it left you. Ugh. GetTheT.com. Maybe you mowed down a huge steak and your plumbing is all plugged. Ugh. GetTheT.com. Our super strength tea will take care of your occasional ugh. It's all organic and non-GMO. Get rid of ugh. We have so many great supplements, but our super tea is number one. GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com.
Levels of Power. Fact or fiction. Author Mike Gilmore brings political thrillers aligned with the latest news stories direct from our nation's capital. Immigration and border security. High tension in Southeast Asia. A Supreme Court nomination. Follow Senator Randy Fisher through the halls of power as he confronts the issues that affect our everyday lives. Fast-paced political thrillers. Levels of Power. Discover more at michaelgilmore1.com or amazon.com. Get hooked today.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roasted to the dark side of fade to black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy. What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring two Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The two full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129 and use the promo code JCRTWS and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Teppy.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRAradio.com.
This is KJCR at jimmychurchradio.com.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. Thank you, Stewart Pearce. I needed that. Didn't you? 323-825-5045 or 323-275-9695. Phone lines are open. I want to hear from you. I really do. How are you feeling? You know, what an uplifting conversation. It just, I mean, grounded, to the point. And I just feel wonderful. I was in a great mood going in. I'm in a better mood now. 323-825-5045, 323-275-9695. Why? The post that I did on Facebook and the talk about some of the negativity out there. Look, I want to back up. Let's back up 3-4 years. One of the things that I have said from the very beginning of Fade to Black, from the word go, is that this is a place where we need to be able to talk, to communicate, to have an exchange of open ideas and experiences and and share that together. And all of you have always picked up on that. That's it. I cannot tolerate negativity. And in front of all of you, I have gone through phases of it where I was affected by it. And I shared those experiences with you. And I did that for good reason, to let you know that I am you. And I'm experiencing the same things and the same feelings that you are. But once I found out a couple of things that were actually physical, where I was seeing stuff on mass media and I was seeing stuff on whatever, YouTube or the internet, that were affecting me physically. And I realized, and I knew that one of the things that I've lived my life, I've shared with my children and friends, don't carry negative baggage around with you. It is fully loaded Samsonite luggage with bricks in it, holding you down, slowing you. Cut the cable, man. Just cut it out of your life. And then you are free to move forward. Right. And even I was a victim of it, and so lately, okay, so let me go back. On the show from the beginning, I've always said if we can't talk freely here, if we cannot have a free exchange of ideas, where are we going to have it? Where are we going to have it? Now, let me give you an example. One of the things that really irritates me and why I don't watch it, because it just bothers me, is when somebody says, Jimmy, why aren't you going after this guy or this girl? What are you doing? Look, if somebody calls me up on the phone and I have a caller that says, hey, I just had somebody visit me in my bedroom, and I think that I was taken aboard a spacecraft, man, and I went through the wall and I went on board and I had this experience, and I just turned around and said, you know what? You're lying right now. What does that do? What does that do? Are you happy with that? Those negative people out there, are you happy with something like that? That your heart is so covered with tar and blackness that kind of response to somebody that is trying to be open, that makes you happy? You're polluted inside if that's what you're thinking. And if that's what you want, don't listen to this show, because you're never going to get it. I have had my own experiences. And when somebody shares and opens up with me, because they know that I am going to listen. And that goes across the board with everybody. Everybody. And that has been the rule of this show. That's it. Okay? That's it. I have clearly shared some pretty fantastical experiences that I have had on this show publicly. I don't care what people think. I don't. It is very important that all of us understand that here on this show, here in our community, with our family that we have built organically together, and it is wonderful, the UFO community in general, is that we are able to listen to everybody else and sit down and share experiences, thoughts, theories on an open, because if we can't do that, then this whole thing shuts down. And those purveyors of negativity out there, for whatever reasons, and most of it's driven by ego. That's it. They want to justify their own existence by tearing somebody else down on any front. Okay? After, and please, and let me be very clear here. We have posted, I can't tell you how many shows on YouTube, on iHeartRadio, on Libsyn, our own archives. It is out there for people to listen to freely. On all of those, I get email every single day. I get text. There are posts. There are things. There are ways for people to say things that are very, very, very negative. Mostly, and when I say mostly, I'm talking about 99.9999999% of all of you out there don't care. You guys listen to everybody and you have an open mind and an open heart. Okay? But there are that troll feeding, nasty, dark thing that happens out there is done to attack personally people. Personally, using bad language and foul things and religious content, it's crazy to me. Now, when not only with our team here, but when I see any of that, I know instantly within a few opening words of something that is something that I don't care about, and it gets deleted. I don't see it. It's hidden from me. A lot of it I'm protected because it's just deleted. I don't go and view it. I don't go and pursue it. People name names, go and see this or go and hear that. I don't care. I really, really, really honestly don't care. I don't dig the negativity. I don't. The personal attacks on me, you'd be surprised how much less I even care about that. I don't care. Because the vast majority of everybody out there resonates and connects with authors, researchers, whistleblowers, directors, filmmakers. They connect. Why? Let me make this really, 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 really clear. There are hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people that share the experiences that all of these researchers and authors of books and blog and film directors, they resonate with those experiences. They get it. They've shared those same exact experiences. So when somebody out there wants to negatively attack, they're not going to change a million people's minds. It ain't going to happen. Not going to change my mind, right? The green chrome balls, right? Zorro. the ghost that I saw in the face in the window of that house in Hollywood. You're not going to change my mind on any of that stuff. It ain't going to happen. So if I've had these extraordinary experiences, then when those millions out there, they think about this. They resonate with what I am saying. I resonate with them, and that's the way it's going to be, and it's not going to change. What certainly would be detrimental is that if anybody out there listened to some of this negative stuff that has been going around, and their minds get changed, or suddenly this great divide happens, then you know what? We lose because nobody's going to talk. Nobody's going to share their experiences. Nobody wants to get ridiculed or to get brought down, you know, and that's really the truth. So if you think that negativity is a good thing, right, and that's what needs to be done, then you don't need to be part of this community. You're not. This community has a way of flushing out what they want and what they don't want. Yes, I did bring up chrome balls again, and I'll do it again. You know, and that's really the truth. We have a way of flushing out our own. But those, when we, and whether it's, you know, some pretty powerful minds out there, whether it's, think about this, Tom DeLonge or Stephen Greer or David Wilcock or Corey Goode. I could keep going on. David Serrata. You know, I could go on and on. Linda Moulton Howe. I could go on and on and on and on. Right? Think about that. People resonate. They hear the message. They agree with it. It's part of their own experiences. And that's the reason why people listen. Because there's an open exchange of ideas. And if we start to create a divide and start listening to that, it's just not part of my world. It's not. It's not. And the reason why I was driven to write that post, I have an opportunity to share from a central point because people are coming to this little world of ours. So we attract a large, so I'm able to let a lot of people see it, but also to let everybody know that I'm not oblivious, right? Or that I'm ignoring this, or that I don't care about this. I do. But what I care about is not being affected by it. I think that's the most important thing. And when we come off of, you have to understand how much email I get, or how much information comes at me, or how many people call or come up to me and comment. I hear it. And my response to everybody about all of this has been the exact same thing. Don't care. Who are you talking about? What's that name? I don't know that person. I don't know of who you speak. Right? I don't care. I really don't care. And you shouldn't care either. It is okay. Yeah, Race, go ahead. Yeah. Yeah, just as long as you don't go dark. Okay. I'll let everybody know. Yes. Okay, hold on. The answer is yes. Yes, I get it. I'm waiting. Race Hobbs wants to call in. Because, aside from all of this, Race and I have talked briefly about it, and let's go ahead. You know what? You know what's impressive right now? You know what I'm really impressed with? Race is apparently awake and listening to the show. That's impressive, my friend. How are you?
Oh, long-time listener, first-time caller. Shout out to the Fadernauts. My heart and love to you and Rita. It's been far too long. I wanted to really quickly jump in here to make a comment about the post that you made on Facebook. I know you, Jimmy, and I love you dearly, and I absolutely agree with the position that you take. Listen, that's why Fade to Black is such a wonderful fit here on KGRA. You talked about the, sort of the theme and the mantra that you began when you developed Fade to Black, and you absolutely, both of you, have created a platform for people to be able to come on and discuss openly these topics, these subjects, and then you give your audience, which most radio show hosts don't, a voice. You take call-ins every show. You dedicate an entire show to call-ins to discuss the topics of the week and that sort of thing. But it's all about taking the high road, because when we developed the KGRA 5-6 years ago, that was where we wanted to go. That's where we wanted to stay, and that's where we have stayed. There is so many people out there who do radio, do broadcasting of all kinds, video, TV, and radio, that really, honestly, Jimmy, that's all they do. I call them bottom feeders. Mm-hmm. They don't dig in the bottom of the trash can for their stories. They literally kick the trash can over and look under it. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And they thrive. They literally thrive off of the chaos, the drama, the negativity, and they honestly think they serve a purpose. And there's no room for it in today's society. I had a long conversation with Richard Dolan. I know you talked with him as well at Contact.
Yep.
This is something that we are all, we can all search for the truth, and that's good. But if you search for the truth, you're going to be chasing your tail for a long time. We need facts. We need facts to back up and represent what each and all of us are delivering to the public. And open discussion and open dialogue on platforms like Fade to Black is absolutely essential. It's essential to this movement that we all care so much about. And I applaud you. I applaud you and Rita, and I've done it for years. I absolutely, honestly, unequivocally support Fade to Black and Jimmy Church and all of the Fadernauts who help support and drive this show. I love all of you as well. You have been some of the best fans and listeners the KGRA has had since its inception, and I'm just really proud. And I wanted to call. It's been far too long, as I mentioned earlier, Jimmy, but it's just something that we have to have, and I'm just terribly proud to know you and to know that you have this mission and you have stayed true to it. You have weathered storm after storm, like many of us in this subject, and unfortunately, every once in a while, some idiot will, open his mouth. It's just like, I'm going to say this in a really
I know. You're being kind with the word idiot. And before let me jump in, Race. You've been doing this for a long time, and this little brief storm that we've gone through in the last 2 weeks. Not only it all happened at the same time, right? MUFON acknowledged that film was released, so you've got all the the trolls and haters that surfaced from that. Of course, there's Corey Goode. There's other, but there inside of that, there was all of the other things that were happening too as well that had nothing to do with any of them. It was like this perfect storm of created dissension that you and we can go back and look and we can see the source from all of this, right? It's just a few people out there, but it all happened all at the same time over this last 2 weeks. And it's just been nuts. And I just don't get it. And I don't know, man. It's like some big CIA plot where they're, where they're just saying, let's see if we can just crush MUFON and crush Hollywood, the film industry, and let's crush the internet. Let's crush a couple of radios. Let's crush the fan base all at the same time. It's a perfect storm, isn't it?
It is. I've said it for years that the government doesn't need to do anything to hold back UFOs and the UFO truth because we'll do it for them.
I know, right? It's amazing.
They sit back literally and watch us chase our tails. And, really quickly, excuse me, one of the biggest problems that I have is these people that, have come into the movement. They've discredited themselves. They've been called out for being UFO groupies or whatever you want to say. They go away. And when something like this happens, they crawl out from that rock that they've been under all this time and have to come chime in like the world has forgotten who they are and what they've done and said and try to justify themselves as kind of righteous and on the right side of things and trying to unite ufology, but yet all you do is bring up negativity.
Right.
Those people need to go back under the rocks because I've always said this. Buttholes can make a lot of noise, but in polite society, we ignore them.
It's amazing. Some of these names that I've seen pop up, like there's been like a half a dozen that have not been relevant, have been invisible, right, for 5, 6, 7, 8 years. That right now, it just angers me.
I know. I know it can incense you. It can. But some people have to take a stand. Ryan Sprague, Karen Dolan, Lon Strickler, Anthony Sanchez. Yep. A lot of these folks called this situation out, and they did it in a professional and well done way. There was no sensationalism. There was no driving of just an awful kind of a narrative. Just calling it what it was. And thankfully so, because I really think that the people had their say, their will was done. MUFON was specifically speaking, was it was under severe attack, and the social sphere, for better or for worse, is a thing we have to deal with in the public today. It is something that I don't think the older generations quite understand or take so seriously, but they had to after a couple of weeks, and it looks like they made the right decision. However, a lot of people have come to know that I resigned from MUFON and that we pulled MUFON Radio from the KGRA roster. And that was in no part done by the wonderful people that are doing the work, the boots on the ground in the organization.
Right.
Because they're the ones that take the brunt of the trouble from what I call the mob that, always rise up and come after him.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's those people, the leaders, and you and I both know Jan Harzan personally.
Yep.
He's a good man.
Yes, he is.
I have no doubt that he's trying to do his best to make MUFON better than it was when he got there. And I love him dearly. And he's just a good man. He's got a good heart and good intentions. But when it comes to being a leader, sometimes you have to make quick and decisive decisions, and you have to act on those right away.
Yeah, worry about the legal side or any blowback later, but you need to stand up and do what morally is the correct decision, and to lead and represent, so everybody can step back and go, well, that must have been hard to do, but that was the right decision.
Absolutely.
And I've been waiting for something a little more stronger out of MUFON. Look, I've restrained myself from making a public position on this, but it will be difficult if this isn't addressed in a very direct manner. And we are talking about racism and some other bigotry positions, that if this isn't addressed head on, that even I, as a public person, I have to really think about that type of relationship, because in the future, people are going to look back and go, well, you know what, man, MUFON's full of bigots. And that they are dangerously close from appearing that way unless a strong stance is taken. And that's really the truth. I'm not making anything up. This is just where we are right now. And I just can't believe it that MUFON potentially could come unraveled over one single individual so quickly.
Yeah. Jimmy, thank you for taking my call. Thank you for being here on KGRA. I love you, brother. I love all you Fadernauts out there. Thank you all for your support. And I'm always listening to your show, man.
Yeah, right. Right. Okay, quiz in the morning. Hey, Race, thank you. The KGRA family and all of your support over the years has been extraordinary. And that's how we do this, man. It's a family, and we just move forward one step at a time. Otherwise, we move backwards. Thank you, Race.
Love you, brother.
Love you right back. Race Hobbs, everybody. That's it. The program, the general manager, the boss, the head cheese over at KGRA. Yes, it has been a very difficult couple of weeks for ufology. And MUFON's a very, very small part of everything that we're talking about here, but in its totality, it's a piece of it, and it absolutely happened very, very quickly. Again, I've just stepped back and I'm trying to observe and ride through this. But what I don't want everybody to do is respond to the negativity. I have said, and I meant this isn't directed at any one individual. As far as a researcher or an author or a film director, it's not. Or a group or an organization, it is not. I'm saying in general, don't listen to things that are negative. Don't. All right? It will just hold you back from progressing, from one love, from making this planet a beautiful place, for you to be a wonderful person. Just don't listen to the negativity. All right? And we won't be part of it ever. That's it. All right, so there it goes. Another Fade to Black is in the can. Thank you, Race, for calling in at the end of the show. Well said. Thank you, of course, to Stewart Pearce. Fade to Black's executive producer is Rita Kamarian. Show is produced by Hilton J. Paul, Mark D. Kovar, LJ3, Renee Jonas. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vito, and Mark D. Kovar. Fady Bidell. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, SpaceboyMusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2017 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Tomorrow night, right here, the worldwide return of Jordan Maxwell. Until then, everybody be safe. Go Beckley Tappy.